Charlie has always been a coalition builder. He's been able to bring voices together on the right that maybe they don't always agree with each other. And now we see with him gone, there's been seems to be like a lot of fighting within the movement. What's your reaction to that?
You know, a lot of people have made the observation that they think, Charlie was sort of holding back some of these fights and it was keeping them from happening or otherwise holding the coalition together. And I definitely think that that's directionally true. But as somebody that was having these conversations with Charlie in private, I mean, we could see this stuff coming for years. And I think it's probably more true to say that when Charlie was assassinated, maybe accelerated some of these debates. But they were, I think, inevitable, right? The conversation about Israel, the conversation about foreign policy in general, how and when we use the United States military, immigration, these were things that were going to happen. And so in some ways, I'm glad we're having them because we could all, if you were inside of this, you could see these fissures and these dividing lines coming a mile away. I think eventually 2026, when you have Democrat socialists on the ticket, when you have people that fundamentally hate America, that disagree with the founding story and how we got here, I think there's going to be a new coalition that emerges. It may not look exactly like Trump's winning coalition in 2024. It'll probably look mostly the same, but listen, every couple of years we have to rebuild coalitions. And so I think that for conservatives, the key has to be don't be afraid of the fight, don't be afraid of the debate, welcome it, don't try and cancel people, and let the chips fall where they may, and we'll find some good answers. If we really embrace the debate, we're going to find a consensus that people actually can buy into.
Mm-hmm. So as horrible as that day was, I felt like there was this brief moment of clarity where the right was, the movement, the conservative movement was united for this moment and ready to join forces and close ranks against the left. We seem to be distracted since then. There's been some fallout there. How do we get back on track? Is it a phase? Like, why do conservatives seem to be so easily distracted from focusing on the left? We are constantly losing sight of that and kind of turning on each other, arguing about trivial matters.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, what do you say? It's a multivariate analysis, actually. There's contributing reasons why. One of the reasons why is that, we have this commentator, YouTube, podcast culture that has emerged, and it was a good thing. It was important. We needed that to push back against the establishment legacy media. But even when you have independent voices that have their own independent channels, they're still going to be tempted to go down certain paths or react to certain things. And I'm talking across the board. I'm not pointing this at one person in particular, but the incentive structure is such that we are not necessarily incentivized to call out, truth when we need to. We're not necessarily incentivized to do much more than sort of get along, ignore, keep status quo. And that can ultimately breed a lot of weeds in the garden, right? And I think every so often you need to come to these crossroads where let's have the debate. Again, Charlie Kirk was all about more free speech. He was all about more debate. He was all about trying to expand the tent as large and as big as we could to form a winning coalition. So again, it's a balance. And when you have a balance, when you have to live in tension between two sort of wrong answers, two sort of right answers, you have to learn to live in that tension and use prudence. And Charlie was all about using prudence, right? It's not that everybody's invited to AmFest, but we try and make it as big as feasible, right? And I think, if you're going to have a debate, if you're going to have sort of a row within the conservative movement, this is a good time to have it. This is we're in December. We've got midterms coming up in 2026, and obviously the presidential in 2028. So we got to get it together at some point. We have to sort of have some of these debates and move on to the extent we can. And then, why is it happening? Well, conservatives are just a rowdy people. We're an independent-minded people. We're not like the left that is hive-minded, and we tend to just sort of take our marching orders from the top, like the Borg, and march in one direction. We're going to have to hash this out. And I just think people need to continue telling themselves you don't need to be afraid, embrace it, enjoy existing within this tension, and learn that that's actually what politics is all about.
Do you think that in some cases we can take some some notes from the left. And what I mean by that is if a prominent left-wing figure were to be assassinated on camera when Democrats were in control, we know how they would react. They've started committees over far less. Are you frustrated at all about Republicans? Maybe we don't have the same kind of reaction when it happens with us, that the left would be reacting. They would initiate such a crackdown. They would.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are certainly political points where I am jealous of the left and their hive mind, their collectivism, where they just all get on board and there's no people even voting against the establishment. Or listen, there's utility in that politically, but again, we have to play with the cards we're dealt, and the cards we're dealt as conservatives. You have a bunch of really independent-minded free thinkers that make up our coalition. The ideas are better, the quality of the people, I think, is better, but it also is prone to some excesses. It's prone to some conspiratorial thinking. It's prone to rowdy infighting. I mean, you just have to sort of take the good with the bad. But I'll take our side any days because our ideas actually work, and we can actually get things done for the country that are important to get done. But yeah, sometimes I am a little jealous of the left, and I think comes a point where we have to say, hey, there's an ideological debate we can have, and then there's a political debate we can have. And when we're operating within the realm of politics, we need to buckle up. We need to swallow our pride and get political actions done. Last thing I'll say, and I'm stealing this from Mike Cernovich, actually, a conversation I had with him this morning, is that, listen, we want our lawmakers to stop being influencers. If you're a lawmaker, do congressional things, do political things, go behind doors. I don't care if it's a smoke-filled back room, just get it right, get the vote right, whip the votes, and make sure we do what our side needs to be done. Stop trying to be influencers. Stop trying to be social media, provocateurs. Do what you need to do, what we elected you to do. And I think we need to, as a movement, put them back in their proper boxes now, because when they intermingle, it gets messier. And it's not to say you don't have to have a public profile if you're an elected official. That's great. You should do that. But let's remember what role we all play in this space so we can be most effective.
Obviously, we all saw when Charlie was assassinated, the left reacted by celebrating.
Not all of the left, but
not all the left. But it was a major mask-off moment where you saw people in healthcare, people that work in public service,
schools,
educators, educating people's children. We saw some very grotesque reactions. And even just the other day, we saw the Target employee harassed in the store. His supporters are harassed, seems to be on a daily basis. How do you have political discourse with people who would celebrate if you were murdered over your political views?
You really can't, is the answer. It's a sad truth, but, Charlie was a big believer that America was meant for a Christian people. And when you have a whole political movement that's essentially kicked God out of its political policies and, the planks of its campaign and its apparatus, it's not, ultimately that is going to corrupt itself, and you're going to get a value system that is turned upside down. And that's essentially what we've got on the American left right now. But you have to keep working on it. You have to keep finding sane voices. I'll give you an example. I do not like the way this man votes, but I will give him credit where it's due, and that is John Fetterman. John Fetterman has emerged as a reasonable opposition voice that, we have different priorities, but at least he's not ghoulish and vile in the way that he talks about Charlie's death. And I just want to make it clear, it wasn't all the left that celebrated Charlie's murder. Absolutely not. I think it was so disgusting and vile for many of us to witness the examples of it.
Quarter of the left.
Yeah, maybe it's a quarter, but it was so disgusting and vile for us to witness it that we made much of it on social media. We made it loud because we wanted these people to be, faced with accountability, and that's exactly what they should be faced with. So I think there's a perception issue with that. But, you saw that YouGov Economist poll that came out, I think, in the September 13th through 15th, just a few days after Charlie was assassinated. And if you were in that 18 to 39-year-old cohort, and you were self-described as progressive, 30% of that cohort believes that political violence is justified to settle political scores. That is not a country that any of us want to live in. And what really I believe is driving that is algorithms online, taking clips of Charlie, for example, out of context, cherry-picking them, feeding them through the algorithm, and then if you are only living in that echo chamber, you think Charlie's a vile racist who probably had it coming. I could see why you would make that logical conclusion. And so that is obviously not a country I want to live in. The truth is, and we went through a whole episode of the Charlie Kirk debunking, things he said about MLK, about the Civil Rights Act, about black pilots, whatever it was, and there was a logical explanation for all of that. And so we have to look at social media and be like, what are you pumping into the brains, especially Gen Z on TikTok and Instagram, and let's look at Discord. Maybe there's a better way that this can be done, and without censoring people, without sacrificing First Amendment rights. I know that because it's like I can see these people when they have algorithm brain, where all they do is spend time on Blue Sky, and they it's really scary when you meet people like that. I would also say one last thing. When I go out in real life and meet people on the streets, I still believe fundamentally in the goodness of the people of America. And if we lose that faith, if we black pill, if we doomer on it, it's like that's not a recipe for success for our team. Our team loves America. I love that about our team. We love America by and large. But our team is also prone to a little bit of nihilism and black pilling, and we have to fight that, because if we give into that, that's why we don't show up for elections. That's why we're hard in off-cycle races, right? So the hope is, with knocking doors, messaging, you take advantage of all voting month. I would love for it to be voting day, voter ID, piece of paper, get rid of the machines, but we can't seem to get that done because we can't seem to get people to reform their elections, and if we have to nuke the filibuster to do it. But hey, this is the system we've got right now. The hope is that when 2026 comes around, it's a little bit more high profile, midterms, maybe we'll do better than people suspect. If we get to 2028, the hope is that will be a crystallizing, focusing moment that will galvanize this large coalition that we put together.
And Turning Point Action is pushing Vance?
Yeah, I don't think that's any secret. Charlie was, it's funny, I've seen, because Erica said something from stage here at AmFest that, yeah, we're getting behind J.D. Vance. And they acted like it was big news. Charlie was saying this for years. He really was. He had been saying that we're going to get behind J.D. Vance if J.D. Vance is whatever he wants to do politically. And then, of course, when the vice president became the vice president or the nominee, he was very open about that. He was telling people privately, and then I remember even earlier, this must have been March of this year, he said something publicly, very publicly. So yeah, we as an organization know where we're going, and JD and Usha have been so supportive of Charlie, just amazing, amazing people. And the moral clarity and the courage and the character of J.D. Vance, I've seen it up close and personal in ways that, let me just attest, and for those who haven't, that the man is just phenomenal. He really is. So Charlie chose well. He knew what he was doing, and the organization's going to continue on with that.
We're at AmericaFest 2025. I see a lot of things like, we are all Charlie Kirk coming down the escalator, the freedom, the tent over there. It's like somber vibes, but it's also, there's so many people here. What is your read on how this event is going? How has it been so far?
I think this event has been an amazing success thus far. Now, granted, one caveat: we're not at the end of it, so when you see this, maybe something else will have.
Day two. We're only
some
on
other
day
news
two,
will have happened, but yeah. As of right now, it's been an absolute success. And yeah, I came in kind of unsure, I'll be honest with you. Like day one, I was kind of dreading it because the first AmFest without Charlie, this was his Super Bowl. There was a part of me that didn't even want to come, if I'm being honest. But I've got a job to do, so I got to show up. And as soon as I walked in the door, it was like my spirits lifted. I was instantly encouraged. I had all these amazing patriotic people from all over the country come up and want to shake my hand and encourage us and say that they're behind us 100%. And you just realize so much of the toxicity on social media is not real. So much of the doomer attitude on social media is not real. And you come in, and I think in real life events are so critically important for conservatives to experience firsthand, because you realize just like how much we have going for us, how wonderful the people are, how kind the people are, how much love they have for each other, for their community, for this country. So I would recommend that. And I would just say, yeah, there's been some spicy things said from stage. I love it. I embrace it. Like, we gotta hash this stuff out. And if we don't say it out loud, we're not gonna know where everybody sits on this stuff, and people aren't gonna believe it anyway. So we gotta do this. Might as well be at AmFest, and that's kind of what we built this thing for all those years ago, was to have this be a convening place where people could express all the different ideas of all the different factions within this big tent coalition we've got.
Has the left not been held sufficiently accountable for the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the attempt on Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I completely believe that they have not been held accountable enough for that. And that goes for media figures. I mean, I don't know if, whole networks should lose their broadcast licenses. Certain hosts certainly should probably not have a job anymore. What I found most appalling, and it was interesting, my mom kept sending me like news clippings of like Kimmel versus Kolvet, during when that whole saga was going on. My perspective on it was very simple. Here's a guy that has this major platform on a taxpayer-supported, network that has a broadcasting license, and this guy is peddling a lie that Charlie's assassin was of the right, was from MAGA, which is a complete lie. Listen to what his parents say about him. And what that sends a message to the country is that you can lie about or you can shoot somebody, you can make a political hit on somebody, kill them, and then the media apparatus is going to come in behind you and sweep it under the rug. They're going to make it appear as if it was just okay and that Charlie had it coming. What a disgusting, absolutely vile thing to do and say. And so I made a big stink about it because I think we need to make a big stink about it. And MRC came out with that poll that said only 25% of people know that Charlie's assassin was a leftist. That's not okay. And when you see the polling that so many young progressives think that political violence is okay, you got to ask yourself where's that coming from? It's social media. It's the way left-wingers talk about right-wingers. That they dehumanize, they call us Nazis, call us fascists. That stuff needs to be made taboo again. That stuff needs to be completely ostracized from polite society, candidly. I'm not saying you need to censor anybody. What I'm saying is they need to have a comeuppance. People need to challenge it. And yeah, maybe there does need to be some political, some financial, and when appropriate, certainly criminal consequences for that. But yeah, there is a very sick virus going around the political left that is spreading this hyperbole and justifying it. You see it on major TV networks where it's just okay to call President Trump a fascist and a tyrant and a white supremacist all the time. They do the same thing with Stephen Miller. That's not okay. They did the same thing with Charlie. That is not okay, because Charlie was a decent, wonderful, generous human being that loved Jesus, that gave his whole life for this country and to his family, and lifted up the best values. And I think everybody kind of like with a brain and two eyes and two ears understands that in retrospect. They see that clearly, what a good man he was. And for these people to go around peddling lies and smears against Charlie, that should come with real consequences. Now we have to do that in a way that fits within our, with our values, right? We're not just going to go do what the left does and like cancel people and tell them they can't have a social media account unless they're inciting real violence. I think that's a standard in our country that certainly if you're inciting violence, you should be held accountable. So we do it within our values. Make political assassinations taboo again. Is that too much to ask? And I think the decent men and women of America all know that. I would be excited for the Democrats to finally figure that out as well.